Welcome to Chapter 6. In this chapter, we're going to talk about marketing research, particularly research as it pertains to using the internet and online capabilities in order to gather data. Right now, one of the biggest issues for consumers as well as for us in the marketing department is something called big data. As you can see from the cute little cartoon, there is tons and tons and tons of data that's created every single day. Every click stream, every purchase, every utilization of your credit card is being recorded someplace. In the United States, marketers have spent about $6.7 billion annually on marketing research. Globally, that's almost $19 billion. It creates a huge amount of data that's put together from surveys, web analytics, secondary data, and we'll talk about what secondary data is in a minute, and social media conversations. The challenge with all of this data is that without insight, all we have are numbers and research numbers. We need to be able to put that all together in a way that we can manage the data, extrapolate information that's helpful for us, and move from there. Big data is the term that the media has coined for all of the things that we do to collect information from the web. It's huge data sets that are very difficult to manage and analyze. We're drowning in data. The growth rates are astounding and necessitate an increasing amount of storage in hardware space. 31% of marketers collect web data on a daily basis. 74% collect demographic data, and as we know, demographic data includes gender, age, geography, income, ethnicity, and other personal profile items. Some collect transaction data. So transaction data is what did you purchase? And then 35% have some kind of a social media monitoring. In fact, when it comes to social media, if you're not monitoring your engagement, then it's really not worth doing. So the book talks about the something that Purina did, and look at how much data that they went through, 21.5 million consumers before they made the marketing decisions that they've made. This example shows how Purina came up with the decision to put banner ads like the one shown here on about.com. They used ComScore, which is the online version of Nielsen, to study the relationship between offline buying history and future purchase intent based on what was going on at Nestle websites, Nestle's Purina websites, and exposure to online marketing of various Purina brands. ComScore measured the relationship between buying history and the intent, and discovered that even though the click-through rate on this ad was very, very low, as are most click-through rates, then people still would buy based on seeing it. So just like in any other marketing that we do, it's all about the frequency of appearance. We can't always track exactly to which click, which appearance is credited with the actual sale. A marketing information system is the process by which marketers manage knowledge. It assesses information needs, gathers information, analyzes it, and disseminates it to marketing decision makers. Many firms store electronic marketing data in data warehouses or in a product database. And this graph shows all the different places that we might be able to access as we think about the data that we're capturing on our customers. At the very bottom of the left of the graph, the ERP, would be what's the purchase data? What what did you buy? When did you buy it? How frequently did you buy it? And then CRM is customer relationship management. Again, that's looking at which segments purchased it. So how many men, how many women, of what income range? What were the offer details? How many times did we have to make that offer before somebody did something? And then we move out to our own website, and we're able to look at the web logs and say, okay, this is how many people visited which pages and in which order. So it's not just the raw number of people that go out to a web page, it's how they get there, how they navigate through it. And that's very important data that's captured on the usability and usefulness of the website. We also have affiliate networks like About.com, other websites where we've placed advertising. Search marketing is incredibly important. If we went to Google and searched for Purina Puppy Chow, or just if we got a new puppy and we search for how to feed the new puppy, that would all come into search marketing. And then of course we have behavioral targeting. What kinds of things might we have done on the web to raise the flag and say, oh, this person is going to be looking for pet foods soon. And then finally we come out into what we're calling big data and looking at all kinds of other things. What's going on the websites, on mobile? What's our click stream? Where are we going? How many places did we go before we went to the Purina website? Right? How many other things did we look at? Did we look at YouTube or any of that kind of thing? Then we also have the definition of the marketing information system. It's simply the process by which we manage knowledge. We store data in these huge databases, and the internet and other technologies help us create and facilitate that data collection. Secondary data comes from information about our competitors, consumers, the economic environment. And again, we're going to get into a definition of this in just a few minutes. When we look at, in general, what are the most common ways to collect data? Well, surveys for sure, right? Surveys both online and offline. Tools like SurveyMonkey have made it very easy for us to collect information on the web. The second most common thing is syndicated research. That is, I hire ComScore, I hire Nielsen to go out and find specific data for me. Focus groups can be done either online or it can be done face-to-face. Typically a focus group is a small group of people brought together. Most of the time they're paid to offer their opinions on something usually very broad in scope. So it might be a new advertising campaign, it might be a new product. Next we have company sales data. Obviously, we've been keeping track of who's buying what, when they buy it, how frequently they buy it. And then scanner data, right, from the grocery store. Even though the scanner data, say that 3 times fast, doesn't necessarily tie back to a person, then it does give us information based on buying trends. So where do we get some of these things? Where do we get some of the information for a data warehouse? Well, first of all, it's internal records. Our own accounting, production, and marketing personnel are collecting and analyzing all kinds of data. They're looking for, obviously, sales data. What are the customer characteristics and behavior? When do I buy? And what kind of a customer am I? Am I someone who buys once a month, once a year, once a week? And then when we look at the UPC codes, we look at who's buying what specific version of each product. The other thing that we're doing is, of course, is tracking the movements through our own web pages and then looking at websites where we visited before and after our own website. Now, the next source of data is the secondary data. Secondary data is less expensive than primary data. It might not meet our exact information needs, and typically it's data that was gathered for a different purpose than what we're asking for right now. Things like the US Census, Nielsen TV ratings, other publicly available information is considered secondary data. Marketers are constantly scanning the environment for threats and opportunities for looking at secondary data. For example, if I were to have profiled my customers to say I think they are, 25 to 35, mostly female, living in a 10-mile radius of Lynn, I might go to the US Census and say, well, how many of those people are there? I might go to the town of Lynn and be able to find out how many of those people are there. There are huge warehouses of free information out there that we can access in support of our individual marketing needs. Some of these private and public data sources include the Patent Office, the American Marketing Association, all kinds of research, Nielsen, and other commercial online databases. I do want to highlight ComScore because ComScore is the leading technology company that measures what people do online. ComScore does online what Nielsen does for television. And as you can see, they handle 1.6 trillion interactions each month. That's almost 40% of all of the page views of the entire internet. So when ComScore issues a report, you can certainly trust the numbers that they're coming up with. And then finally, we have primary data. Primary data is simply the data that we gather for the first time to solve a particular problem. It's the collection that we do to answer a particular question. So for example, if we did our own experiment, if we did our own survey, our own SurveyMonkey survey, our own focus group, with specific questions that we want in our company to have answered, that would be primary data. And then to take a quick look at the various steps in primary research, this is kind of going back to your Marketing 101 courses, but there are 5 steps to a primary research program. First of all, you have to define the problem. What are you trying to figure out? What's the question here? And then we have to figure out how we're going to collect the information. Next, we need to figure out how we're going to implement that research plan, collect and analyze the data. Then the data has to be interpreted, and then finally we have to distribute the findings, right? So it needs to be an actionable series of steps. Let's take a quick look at some of the typical research problems that marketers face. So perhaps I would want to look at, I want to improve my merchandising online. So one of the things that I might do is I might look at my own pages. I might look at the pages on my website to say, which pages have been viewed most often? Or maybe I want to identify new market segments. So I might test that in my social networks. I might test it on my website. So as you can see from this list, there are quite a few different ways that we can look at problems and potential solutions. This concludes part 1 of chapter 6